I'm honestly in disbelief that Tsukimichi Season 2 is actually happening, but let me just say, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I really want to catch up, the first season was a few years ago, there's only two shows that I say, you know what, I'll be disappointed in you if you don't catch up. That's Dangers in My Heart and Tsukimichi. Go watch both, a very short season. Season 2 is going to be 25 episodes for this bad boy. And it is Isekai Gold. It 100% is. And while I may be fuzzy on some details as it's been a few years since I saw Season 1, I mean, the little recap they gave at the beginning, and as they got going, I remember the character interactions. I'm still a little fuzzy. I'm like, oh wait, he stopped wearing his mask. I have to start remembering this. But this show is so hilarious while simultaneously being so absolutely bonkers with its intensity at a moment's notice, that we have a main character who basically is looked at as ugly as any demon in this world. I mean, you look at this dude, he looks like a pretty average, normal anime character, but the world thinks he's butt-ass ugly. And in doing so, you get some great comedy, but we're at a point now with this story where he's actually doing quite well as his quote-unquote merchant, but I mean, the shit we saw in this episode is anything other than what a normal merchant would do. Just watching this episode, getting back in the saddle, I have never been more happy to jump into a show that's been gone for a little bit, and I think a big reason about why it took a little longer to get Season 2, which apparently was pretty much confirmed right away after Season 1 ended, I don't remember that at all. I think it was a mixture of probably COVID and also the fact that we're getting 25 episodes back to back. If this was just going to be another 12 or 13 episode season, we probably would have got it last year, I imagine. But the fact that they took their time, JC Staff was cooking, and anyone who's seen some recent JC Staff anime, especially like the latest Danmachi stuff, they've been doing very, very well recently, and I think their production style has been crafted almost like this aged wine. It's just so good these days. Please, don't let this be an underrated isekai. This show is so good. I have friends who literally were saying like where Season 2 is going to go was going to be crazy. They kind of set it up with the whole hero stuff at the end. Go watch this if you have yet to start it because it is hilarious. It's intense. I mean, it's not often you have an MC who, when hunting some bandits, makes it so all sound is gone. They can't hear themselves talk. They can't hear themselves think. They can't hear anything as they're getting sniped one by one and engulfed in flames. And honestly, the fact that that was viewed as an act of God when pretty much his entire goal is to kill God because he hates the goddess in this world is so hilarious. I need more. I have a full live reaction to this wonderful episode over on my Patreon, so if you would like to see my full uncut thoughts, they're over there if you're interested. Now, I've been a very giddy person ever since I was looking over Live Chart, just checking out what's coming out initially, and because I'm like, wait a second, Tsukimichi, they must mean a different Tsukimichi. It can't be Moonlit, and I'm like, oh, it is Moonlit Fantasy. And just the idea that you can just so easily have like these moments where like you see this a lot in fantasy shows, isekai, whether pure fantasy, whatever it is, like the idea of like these ideas being turned into something that is now represented in an environment that you're not usually used to. And the idea whether it's, oh, we tried to go into our master's brain to make food and we poisoned pretty much everyone. We killed all the highest ranking generals in all the different monster armies. That stuff's well and fine, but just the idea that he could be in the Adventurers Guild, overhears something about a name, he's like, oh, is that like a song from my world and they're using it for this? I kind of feel like his entire reason for picking up, like cleaning up the bandits, it was partially to help this guy, but mostly just because, like, don't ever use that name again or I will slit your throat. And I'm like, my boy can't be so serious, but that's why we love Makoto. In Makoto, do we trust? It just felt like, in a lot of ways, when you have a show that jumps back in after it's been a little bit, right? And it has been a little bit since the first season. I say if I don't remember things and the anime isn't making it make sense, it's on me for not rewatching. I don't expect that it has to be like, oh, here's this big recap because we know all you dumbasses didn't rewatch it. No, like, I do honestly think that anyone who didn't watch Season 1 probably could use that like 30-second, 1-minute recap at the start of the episode, and that's probably enough to get a general enough idea if you've seen Isekai to be able to watch the show going forward. Of course, you're missing out on all the development and stuff, but in general, like, the episode would make enough sense for it to function. But I love the fact that as the episode goes, I just kind of felt like it was kind of like deja vu. I was like, wait a second, I'm starting to remember. The details are coming back to me. And just by the end of the episode, I'm like, this is why I was so excited. Hell, I didn't even remember half of the details in Season 1 initially when I saw it on Live Chart, and I'm like, wait, it's getting a Season 2? But it's all coming back to me, and I just love the cast dynamic. I love how silly and goofy it can be, while simultaneously being so absolutely insane. Like, just look at the cooking stuff with Mia or Tomoe. Like, just the idea that the first one's like, oh, hey, you know what, I went into my master's mind, and I'm like, what? what are they eating? Like, what the hell is that? Like, is it rocks? Is it poison orbs of goo? Like, I have no idea. And the fact that, because when you think about it, right, makes a lot of sense. If you were to go into someone who came from another world's mind, and you're like, okay, that thing, that green thing, that's kind of green. It does make sense, but a bell pepper and asparagus being turned from like that to being rocks in this poison goo, I don't know if that was just for comedic purposes or if they're legitimately dead, but rip. I don't care if it's that time I got reincarnated as a slime. I don't care if it's Tsukimichi. I find it hilarious when people cook and they're poisonous with their cooking. And I love the fact that the other one being like, you know, you don't know what you're doing. She's just as bad at cooking. Jesus Christ, man. I don't know if this was some white person cooking in terms of overcooking the pork chop, but like that meat, you could probably like smash a hammer on it and the hammer would break because of how hard it was. And apparently the banana little overlay, the little kind of seasoning that they did, ruined the bananas for them too. Like, it was just absolute ass through and through, and that was hilarious to witness as our boy's kind of walking through. I do admit, I actually do forget why he stopped wearing the mask. I mean, I'm sure there will be a lot of people who will tell me in the comments, and I appreciate you reminding me. But ultimately, the mask was kind of there because when he was brought into this world, he was viewed as butt-ass ugly, right? Like, he is atrocious looking from the eyes of humans, right? He also can't speak other than like a monster language, right? So like the goddess screwed him like 100%. Like the goddess is pure evil and deserves all the horrible things that are going to approach her when our boy does finally meet up with her, or just what he can do in order to get revenge. And the idea that now he's no longer wearing the mask, I mean, he's very much like mocked and gawked at, but he also is a little flashy in a way. So when he doesn't have small pocket change to pay for his inn, he pretty much gives a solid gold coin. And immediately, you know, like if you're flashing that kind of money for just a simple dinner or drink, people are going to jump you in the alleyway. Of course, he's overpowered, so it doesn't really matter. And honestly, just watching him go into that alleyway and just the idea of this woman having like a demi-human kind of like boyfriend here. At first, I wasn't sure why she was like so okay with him, because most people when they look at Makoto pretty much are immediately like, get out of here, you're disgusting. I thought it was because the people in the kind of Adventurers Guild were just being assholes, so like she wasn't gonna just judge a book by its cover. Seems to do more with like she doesn't really have an issue with demi-humans or beast people in general, but I like the fact that, you know, the only person he was actually able to properly communicate in this episode with was the werewolf boy, who he pretty much calls a Shota and is like, shouldn't you be a little more beefy? He's like, okay, I can't judge, but still, just so good. And like the animation on the fight scene was so cool, because I love how the sound direction perfectly works with it. They literally cut off all music. There was some internal monologue coming from the one character who was watching all his friends get sniped, and then of course our boy, but it was so cool to see just like, it honestly, it's kind of freaky when all the sound goes away. You can't hear the arrows or anything. It's just so cool. Fiery explosion. How do you not get butterflies and excitement when watching something this fun? It's hilarious, it's badass, and it honestly has a really fun environment, and it's a twist on the whole goddess kind of storyline that you're typically used to with the isekai media. This was an absolutely fantastic return. I hope this one does well. I mean, I'm gonna try my best to hustle this on YouTube, but I'm gonna need your help. We gotta spread the word that Tsukimichi Season 2 is here. Everyone should watch it. It is isekai gold, and I can't wait to see where it's gonna go from here. But let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more of the channel. And like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, you also get a video shout out. Alright, so today we have Omar, Jay Vordy, Gus Ogura, Daniel Koskol, and All Hit Me. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.